Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm a Ukrainian. I have decided I will vlog daily from my country, Ukraine, since the start of this awful war with Russia. And in my daily videos, I try to update you on the important real-life situations in my country, Ukraine. And of course, I'm always glad to answer your questions and to clarify some facts from our history, culture, background, or whatever interests you. And today, I don't want to be a political or military vlogger, but I want to be a storyteller. Because I believe there are many things that have changed in the life of an ordinary Ukrainian that can be interesting and at the same time quite unbelievable for you. They were also unbelievable and impossible for me before the start of this war. And for many years, war was just a very bad word that I did not like to come across in the news or in the books. I was totally anti-war person. I did not like military attire and all of that things. And honestly, when I studied at school, when I graduated from the university, when I started writing, I could not imagine that I am going to be a person who lives during the wartime in her country. So, also, I'm like 100% sure that after I will upload this video, I will think, oh my God, I have forgotten about so many other details that I want to mention. So feel free to ask me. And here are the things that I want to mention. What is the typical day for a Ukrainian in a semi-dangerous zone? You know that I live in the western part of Ukraine, Volyn, Lutsk, where we don't have Russian tanks and Russian orks, but we do get missile attacks and kamikaze drones. So first of all, it is common thing that you will have lots of air raids during a day. Some days can be completely silent and you will not receive an alarm or you won't hear it outside, but traditionally we receive them on mobile phones because we have normal mobile connection here, and you can hear it outside from specific things that I could not imagine exist everywhere in my city. These are sounds that inform us that we need to hide because the possible Russian missile attack or bombing or kamikaze drone or some specific planes are in the air, and we have to hide under the ground to wait until this dangerous time is over. This also means that shops, banks are closed, university lectures are interrupted, and people have to hurry and hide. It can last 5 minutes, which is very rare. It can last like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, which is very typical, or sometimes it can take several hours. It can happen during the night, and honestly, you can miss it. It can happen when you are getting ready for an operation, for example, at the hospital, and then you will not get this operation because you are not allowed. Many people who live in more safe regions start ignoring these signals because they want to continue, I don't know, driving home, they want to continue eating, they want to continue teaching a class. In the majority of cases, nothing happens, but in some cases, this leads to the deaths of people when they ignore it. They stay, for example, in their house, and then a kamikaze drone gets in the window and the family is dead. But it is also surprising how quickly you get used to the sounds. And I know that many Ukrainians who travel the world continue listening and watching, observing these maps of air raid alarms in Ukraine. And very often people abroad are surprised with the reality of this war that you can carry in your bag, in your phone, in your heart, in your thoughts. And it's always like that. So sometimes you won't be able to finish anything you planned during the day because, for example, you had 5 air raid alarms, banks were closed, hospitals were closed, and you were not able to do whatever you want. Even if no one died and your city was not hit, you can get depressed, angry, and frustrated because sometimes the things can be important. I'm not talking about cafes, I'm not talking about shopping. I'm talking about other important things. Also, you know that Russians are terrorists, and it goes without saying they realized they cannot take over Ukraine, so they started ruining our infrastructure like angry bullies or whatever. And by destroying these electrical power stations, they do not achieve anything. And they just simply terrorize people. Many Ukrainian cities have rolling blackouts, and as a result, we have this specific schedules when we don't have electricity in our houses. Sometimes everything goes according to the schedule, sometimes it is not, and that's why I like one meme that I have come across on Facebook recently, that like, now in Ukraine you don't have working hours, you work when you have electricity. And this is very much true. Many people work from home, many people work distantly because the offices are closed, and it all started with COVID and now continues with war, air raid alarms, and so on. And it's really difficult when they don't have electricity for hours inside house. Also, we need electricity, for example, in my case, for warm running water, also for my oven, and there are lots of things that get blocked. Ukrainians can post lots of photos on Instagram of romantic evenings with candles, trying to go through this difficult time, but at the same time, electricity is very important. And if you live on the 10th floor or on the 21st floor and elevators don't work, you can imagine that. And when you have children, and it can be really complicated. Another thing that, for example, you don't think about, but in reality it happens. I have read one post of one of our famous writers whose mother was diagnosed with cancer. She went through the operation, everything was fine, and now she has to receive radiology, and she cannot because of low voltage. And many of her procedures are postponed until the normal electricity flow is restored. So many patients are waiting for that. Also, I know many patients whose operations were not performed exactly on the day when they were expecting because of kamikaze drone attack or something. And this is very, very difficult because people are nervous before operation anytime. And then if it's during the wartime and it's postponed and they don't know what will happen tomorrow, can you imagine the load of stress they feel? But at the same time, I know that everywhere in Lutsk, in Kyiv, in Lviv, in other cities that become dark in the evening, people go out on the streets, people walk without lampposts, without this traditional electricity things that have restaurants and clubs and other things. And many people make pictures without splashes to preserve this magical atmosphere of really strong Ukrainian cities that are in the darkness, but at the same time filled with the light of people's hearts. And I'm saying that, I'm getting emotional because it's like that. We all know very much about various power banks, lighters that you use. Children walk in the yards in the evening, and it's getting dark really early here right now. We have this clock change. I don't know how about you, because from year to year we promise we will stop switching summertime, winter time, but this year we did. And now approximately at 5 p.m. it's really dark here, and you will see children walking with the lights on their foreheads, like small geologists or aliens coming from unknown flying objects. And they do not realize this is because of war. They feel fun in that. And when you hear laughter, when you hear people drinking hot wine in the darkness of these streets, you do realize how strong the country is. And I feel very sorry for that orcs. They spoil our life. They take away many beautiful lives of many beautiful Ukrainian people. But they cannot imagine how much warmth, love, strength we experience during these days without electricity or without heat. In many cities, electricity is connected to water supply. There are buvettes with specific things that were very quickly organized by local authorities where people can get water. And all the queues are very polite. And people try to support each other to provide the neighbors with water. And if you visit an average Ukrainian flat, for example mine, you will see lots of bottles and lots of buckets with water. This does not look very good, but when you don't have enough water, and it may be that it will be turned off, you need some technical supply for some technical things that you can do at home. And also people buy lots of products that can be prepared very quickly by boiling water, specific home heaters, various appliances and power banks that I have already mentioned, and many things that we could not predict, and we learn very quickly from each other. And like, it's so surprisingly that during war you continue like living, and you continue feeling so many good things, and this is unbelievable. And honestly, I can tell you that only those countries who went through the experience of war can understand what I'm talking about. And I know that I have, for example, subscribers from Croatia who know what that is in reality. All Europe and America went through this horrors of the Second World War, but that was really long ago. And now it's so important to fix all of that experience. I rarely ask you to share videos, but maybe it can be interesting for your countrymen, because war is not only about explosions, dead bodies of soldiers, not only about borders, tanks and HIMARS. It's also about adapting and nurturing strengths inside yourself on those dark streets, with sometimes sick parents, with some personal problems, but at the same time, like we often speak about office burnout. Can you imagine like the level of a burnout an average Ukrainian can get during this 9 months of war, without electricity, gas, warm water, in the cold and dark flats of some ruined cities? But it doesn't work like that. We did not burn out. We feel stronger and stronger with each day. And when I tell you this, I feel emotional and proud. And these stories, they are everywhere. I bought this dress. You often compliment my sweaters, and I like it because I'm not only a vlogger, I'm also a girl. And I bought this dress today in a shop of people who are refugees from Donetsk region. And they had a huge shop in Donetsk, and Donetsk was once a very, very big city and a very rich city in Ukraine, but after orcs occupied it, it turned into an example of Ruski Mir, which is always abandoned and poor. And these people had a huge shop there. They were rich, and now they have a very small shop, but they are happy to be in Ukraine, and they are happy that now the whole world is fighting with us against the Russian evil. So forgive my sentiments, but I want to give you this small glimpse of Ukrainian cities that are often in the dark, but the streets are filled with people, children voices, laughter, with those light coming from the lighters on the heads, from phones, candles in the windows. Sometimes it's hard to get to your romantic candle dinner if your flat is really high. But, you know, like, you realize that you live in a very, very important historical moment. And you change the life of your country, maybe the life of the world. And at the same time, you do feel hugged by your friends, countries, friends from different corners of this world. And we are very grateful for that. Do ask me questions that you want to know. I'm always glad to explain more about our everyday life or about some other things that I can answer. I'm not an expert, I'm a subjective vlogger, but I love you all very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons. If you're first to the channel, please subscribe, because the world needs to know more about Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!